Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me. How are you? Have a good day, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, now we will come to today's news. Well, isn't this fitting at the unveiling of Nancy this past point that Pelosi is painting in the January 6th cathedral? You can see Paul Pelosi, they're just drooling at the size of that hammer. He's sitting there going, I can take it off the table. Nancy, 3 of them. Oh, racked up, nearly killed them. That's right. Well, run that joke into the ground anyhow, as all this is taking place. His alleged attacker is in court, right? Meow. Which should be real quick court case, right? If you believe that mainstream media press, Donald Trump supporting Berkeley nudist Castro-loving piss-smelling ham jewelry-making homeless dude who lives in a Winnebago underneath an LGBTQ flag in the driveway of a house with a bunch of BLM posters in it, definitely Donald Trump supporter. Definitely Donald Trump supporter. Oh, wait, no, it doesn't make any sense at all. None of this makes any sense. Maybe somebody could shine a light on this. What's happening over here? Well, maybe the son of the attacker could tell us. Leah, this. The son of the attacker comes out, goes, oh yeah, my dad probably was a sex slave for me. But that just seems crazy. Really? It sounds crazy. Have you met the lefties? You got a Democrat nutjob right now from the House? Again? California Representative Toe? Oh my God. I can't believe that Twitter. We didn't get rid of all of these people called pedophiles on Twitter, grubbers. Why don't we go, well, pedophilia is just a sexual orientation, knowing what I know what I mean. So that's a lefty Democrat representative. She works for Nancy Piss Pants Podum Pelosi. Then you got Ed Buck. Just Lane Maxwell, Harvey Weinstein, Oprah. This is not beyond the pale. Go look at what Andrew Gilliam is up to. So now it's not that this makes way more sense than what the mainstream media presents telling everybody. So there's a Daily Mail over here exclusive quote. For all we know, he was some sort of sex slave. Again, that makes a lot of sense. That makes way more sense than anything going on CNN. Senator Paul Pelosi, as alleged attacker, says his father is not evil, believes in human rights, and is hardly a right-wing conservative. Well, that's just conspiracy terrorism, that it's Pharisee terrorism. Sure, this all these sussed out during the court trial. Oh, wait, no, none of it will only get more murky. They had the court hearings, the first one was yesterday. And they actually played 30 seconds of, again, the body cam footage that should be used, of course, to prove once and for all that this was a Donald drunk supporting terrorist maggot that tried to kill Nancy Pelosi. But somehow, they're like, this body camera footage. We're going to show that to the corner of the room so nobody can see what the hell's going on. So all the reporters there are taking notes off the body cam video footage, based on audio only. Because the television screen is phased into the corner, though they don't want anybody to see what's going on. Of course, they don't see what's going on. Because Paul Pelosi isn't some Dog King gear, isn't some BDSM gear. He's clearly invited the nut job to come to his house, maybe for a little bit of punch of pipe and hammer activities in the pink eye. So you got David IPAF 42 is due to be arraigned today on charges. This is yesterday, of course, of attempted murder. Again, all of this would be very easy. You can debunk all of these conspiracy theories, just show us the dashcam footage, or the body cam footage. Or I don't know, the security camera footage or the 911 to any of that. Now, I don't want to do any of that. Just trust us. I'll trust you. It's not actually anything you say, I'm going the opposite direction. And so you're saying that this is some sort of anti-Semitic, racist, transphobic, dog kink-phobic attack, to dare question the legitimacy of the mainstream media press narrative when it comes to Paul Pelosi. But I'm telling you right now, this makes the most sense. For all we know that this dude was some sort of sex slave. Absolutely not. Absolutely. That's. So there you go. This is the home again that they're telling us. David DePape was living in this bus. There's a rainbow flag that conveniently cropped out of this image right here. And then the house in the background over here, BLM posters in the window, but this hippie is a Donald Trump supporting maggot. So this is a sun over here on a Sunday now. My dad had a lot of beliefs. My dad wasn't necessarily a Democrat or Republican. He hated them both, but he certainly wasn't a Donald Trump supporting mega terrorist that the mainstream media press is trying to get everybody to believe. And so he's saying it's more likely that his dad was some sort of sex slave. He was incentivized with, I don't know, choco bars and vodka and probably a bunch of mescaline into this house and then try to break that rear entrance. Boys break it wide open but from the inside out after breaking the other big mess. And some significant news. Alright, lefties, let's talk about domestic extremism. You guys keep telling me how worried I should be for society, humanity, and of course mud democracy, the constant existential threat of the extremist terrorist right, but the only example they ever give us is mud January 6th. I mean, I get it, you feel it gets your ace in the sleeve, but you got to have something else, right? There's got to be another example. Of course, then some leftovers are probably immediately pivot, citing the Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer kidnap plot, but of course, as we know, that was an FBI plot. If anything, they might point out, well, what about Jussie Smollett? Yay, another hoax. What do you have that is not a complete hoax or a totally exaggerated over amplified event? What do you got? The answer is nothing. Good examples of leftist extremism and leftist actual terrorism continued to pile up, and we got another one. Multiple individuals part of an Antifa cell were just arrested and charged with domestic extremism. And of course, more instances of leftist extremism continue to pile up and come in. Let's talk about, of course, with a heavy focus on the double standards like usual. Alright folks. Take a look at this from the Daily Mail. 5 Antifa members are charged with domestic terrorism. Cops swooped on Atlanta Autonomous Zone and find explosives after locals were ambushed and homes were set alight. Another autonomous zone. I actually had no idea this one existed, but it's really hard to believe. You mean to tell me an autonomous zone filled with armed Antifa terrorist goons committing crimes? No way. I could never believe that. Of course, we know exactly what's going on here. The media, however, or the dishonest media, is trying their hardest to try to downplay the significance of this event. Everyone listen to this, they said. We have continuing coverage this morning of ongoing tension at the site of a future Atlanta police training facility. We've seen more law enforcement there over the past 24 hours as protesters, they continue to fight back against what they call Cop City. The people that they have been arresting and targeting and attacking have been engaged in nothing. Wednesday, protesters shouted slogans at police in riot gear on property near the site. This week, 5 protesters were arrested over clashes at the encampment off of Key Road. They have been charged with domestic terrorism among other crime. Okay folks, choosing to focus on leftist activists supporting their cause, claiming these people were totally peaceful, and just arrested for no reason, as if we haven't seen that garbage before. Probably just like those totally peaceful 2020 summer riots. But let's get into the details. 5 Antifa members are in custody on domestic terrorism charges after they were protesting outside of a planned $90 million police training center. The site of the planned center has been the focal point of protests for months by Antifa, who have referred to the site, which protesters have made an autonomous zone, as, quote, Cop City. Many of those who are arrested were holed up in treehouses where police later recovered explosives. Oh my lord. I mean, you literally cannot make this stuff up. A bunch of like 20 plus, probably even 30-year-old Antifa losers. I mean, there's really no other way to say it, living in treehouses. These people are like 5-year-olds LARPing, except of course they're adults and the implications are much more serious. More specifically, they were caught with explosive devices. When's the last time you saw a group of Republican activists hiding in a forest in an autonomous zone, sleeping like raccoons in a friggin' treehouse, caught with explosives and other weapons and implicated in a string of violent attacks and arson? Never. Prior to Tuesday's arrests, police detained several people at the site for crimes including destruction of property and arson, along with carjacking and attacks on locals and government officials. The official reasoning for the protests, according to a report from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, as environmental concern for the wheel on the forest, the center would cut out around 381 acres of woods. Among the photos documenting the protest is an image of a group of ski mask-clad protesters standing over a truck with a banner reading "No Forests, No Peace" truck the police, as well as a smaller sign that read "No Cop City." Those arrested have been named as Serena Hotel 25 of California, Nicholas Olson 25, Nebraska, Francis Carroll 22 of Maine, and Arian Robinson 22 of Wisconsin, and Leonardo VSLA 20 of Macon, Georgia. It fits the mo, absolutely it fits the mo perfectly. Antifa goons being bussed in from out-of-state protest to commit violence to chant their infamous slogan, "Give us what we want." Or else, in other words, Give us what we want or no peace, as they say and now call with explosives and supposedly linked to carjacking, assault, vandalism and arson. I mean such amazing, virtuous, productive members of society. Guess what they were up to? We'll take a look at this picture over here burning down people's future homes. Oh, I absolutely love how wholesome these Antifa activists are, so compassionate. They're involved in such good charitable causes, such as burning people's future dream homes. You know, American citizens who work hard, pay their taxes, participate in society lawfully, probably raising children, worked hard to save up money and build homes, only to have those homes in the middle of construction burnt down by a bunch of Antifa losers. I mean, that's really what they are. I'm gonna continue to say it, and we're supposed to believe that those are the good guys. Give me a friggin' break. Here's a photo of someone's work truck burned down to ashes. I mean, such incredible people really fighting for a good cause of burning a worker's truck. That's the key to his livelihood, releasing toxic chemicals into the atmosphere because they're just such great environmentalists. Speaking of being such great environmentalists, typical fashion, as we see with these left-boyd hacks, here's their protest site with a bunch of litter and plastic garbage all over the floor. That certainly isn't being recycled. These people are the worst. I mean, the worst of the worst. It's enough to have to be dealing with these people, whether in your community or just dealing with their existence, the constant hypocrisy, the violence, the threats, the terrorism, but probably the worst part is the double standard. The way these left boys are constantly engaged in these acts of arson, assault, all the way up to homicide, which we've seen on multiple occasions, intimidation and doxing it. The media totally ignores it. And the media is constantly focused on the narrative, which is the evil Donald Trump supporter, the evil Republican. Meanwhile, this stuff is happening. I mean, let's have a conversation, an honest conversation about political extremism. Well, we can't, because people on the right are willing to condemn extremism, political extremism, regardless of what side it comes from. You know, the events of January 6th, for instance, point I always make. Every single political commentator on the right was so swift to condemn the violence, Donald Trump immediately condemning the violence and telling people to go home. People who supported the protest didn't want to see it get out of hand. They didn't want it to get violent. They wanted it to be substantive. They wanted it to potentially be intense, of course, but nobody was supporting domestic extremism. Are there elements of it? Absolutely. And it distracted from the actual cause, it distracted from the protest itself. And so immediately people condemn the violence. Left droids don't, very simply, they don't. The same point that I always make. It took over 100 days for Joe Biden to condemn violence, like a basic condemnation of violence in the wake of summer 2020 political violence. Over 100 days to just do the basic, the bare minimum, and say violence is bad. Okay. And that had devastating violent consequences, namely, an Antifa goon, Mr. 100% Antifa. Michael Reinold. We're never going to forget that guy's face or that guy's name violently executing a Patriot Prayer member in the streets of Portland indiscriminately for no reason, caught on camera, and still left boys haven't taken a strong stance and condemning that individual. In fact, multiple media outlets tried protecting him. This stuff is just wild. It's crazy, but it's no longer surprising because it's par for the course. This is what leftwards do. It's what they endorse, and it's what they refuse to condemn. It's also what they vote for. You know, the Atlanta metro area voted for this by supporting the party of Antifa. The party of defunding the police. They support these domestic extremists whether directly or indirectly with their vote. They vote Democrat across the board at a near 90% rate. And then when they try to make moves for public safety, like creating a cop training facility, this is what happens. This is what they have to deal with, and really none of it, absolutely none of it, is surprising. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Of course, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and of course possibly subscribe if you're up for it. I'm gonna get back to work. I want to thank you guys for